Hello and welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a really great and jam-packed session lined up for you guys today. My name is Brittany, and I'm here as your moderator and to introduce you to your two speakers. First up, we have Kopis Chief Technology Officer, Adam Drews. Adam has been our Kopis ERP division leader for the last 5 years, and he now leads our solution architect team. He has over 20 years experience in tech. Many of those years have been here at Kopis, and we are so excited to have him this afternoon. Next, let me introduce you to Jennifer Bonenfant. Jennifer is the SylogistMission product manager and has been a member of the Serenic Sylogist community for over 20 years, first as a customer, then as a consultant, which gives her a really unique perspective for her current role. She is a CPA with nonprofit experience ranging from professional as an auditor to an executive, and in the community from volunteer to board member. And without any further ado, I am going to pass it over to Adam, and he can get us started.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to go through the evolution of Serenic Navigator into the Sylogist suite of products and how that's evolved over the years. And we've got some really exciting things to share about their suite and the platform that it's built upon. So I want to start a little bit about where in this space, we're in the mid-market space, and where that technology and industry and platform has evolved. So speaking specifically about Microsoft, they actually had 3 ERP systems. So the base of Serenic Navigator built on one of the largest ERP platforms in the world. But even as a large ERP platform, Microsoft had 3 in the mid-market space. Well, years ago, they made the decision that the NAV platform, the basis of Serenic Navigator, was the mid-market platform that they were going to move forward to cloud, and they've done so. And so they're essentially consolidating all of their development on an ERP perspective into that plan to be a cloud-first ERP system. And just like Microsoft, both Kopis and Sylogist have done the same in our commitment to that platform. And what's interesting about that is, as a cloud-first platform, has on-premise as well still these days, but as a cloud-first platform, the system ultimately has a number of benefits to help continue to move it forward. From a focus perspective, having all 3 of those major platforms begin to consolidate onto the new cloud-first platform, it's called Dynamics 365 Business Central, has brought a lot of synergies between partners, labor, mind share, investment, all of that pouring into the one main platform. Additionally, as we look at some of that cloud first mentality, it's browser based, so we're accessing this through the browser. As a cloud based software as a service model, we need to keep things up to date. Microsoft keeps the system up to date in a different manner than deploying or granting access to new versions of the software that you'd install. Those things, there's a pattern for how we update, and we'll actually talk about that in a little bit. And so what that means is that we don't get into scenarios where we get out of date, for years. We are deploying new versions of the software regularly. We're doing it in a controlled manner so that we can test and be careful and good stewards of the application. But now we have access to the latest and greatest on a regular and recurring basis. The other thing and this is an overarching theme from Microsoft as they build out this platform, is that they want all of their services to be interoperable. And the more that they are, the more that each of these services actually compound the value and create network effects. So Microsoft's investing heavily in this platform to make it easier to connect to all their other services. So now we have access to integrate places within Microsoft Teams for Business Central, for Power Automate. We can actually run more complex automations directly off of Mission ERP in Power Automate. We can do so with Power BI. We can read our data from Power BI in an easy manner. And so all those things help compound where we can go with the system afterwards. And even if you look out even further, things like their investment into OpenAI and Copilot. I myself am actually doing some internal development around Copilot and OpenAI, and I can see huge value for us coming with its ability to use natural language to either query or perform actions or to understand what we're trying to do. Lastly, as the security landscape changes and threats become more ubiquitous and more dangerous, being on a modern security platform where we can control access, when we turn somebody's license or somebody's account off because they're maybe offboarding from the organization. Now, when you do that, it applies to Business Central and SylogistMission ERP as well, because that's their identity is tied completely throughout your applications. So a little bit about the lifecycle. So because it is a cloud-first application, we are going from, if you're on premise, we look at some of the legacy releases. There are dates around when those legacy versions are supported. And so we are out of mainstream support now with all of the Dynamics NAV releases. So after 2018, we get into the Business Central releases, and that's when we start to get on the modern lifecycle. And that's slightly different. Mainstream support ending primarily means that we move to primarily security updates for that extended support. So there, tax updates, all that kind of stuff, not as prevalent in the extended support. So what is modern lifecycle? In the cloud, it's essentially you get a major release every 6 months. And again, there's a controlled way of deploying and testing that. It's actually really nice from a process perspective. We can clone our production environment super easy. Actually did this last night for Kopis, and we can test those upgrades and again control the deployment for the application. We also get minor releases every month. These are non-breaking changes. These are small additions and tweaks as each month that they're released. Now, if you do want to stay on-prem, and that is a perfectly fine decision, we can maybe stage those deployments a little further out. The one thing that's a little bit different in the on-premises version is that a release is essentially good for 18 months from that either April or October release date. So those major releases are in the April and October timeframe. We just had one. That's why I was mentioning Kopis. So if you were in an on-premise scenario, we'd want to time those so that you get the maximum amount of that 18 months and have a nice, smooth, quick procedure for updates. And with that, now we turn it over to the start of the show. So we talked about the platform and how some of those kind of additive and benefits and how that's changing. We're going to get into things that are more feature and industry target for your organizations, and how Sylogist is advancing those missions. And then we'll get back into a little bit of the how and the strategies for moving.
Yeah, thanks, Adam and Brittany. Gosh, glad to be here and glad to be partnering with Kopis as well as we move forward with this Cloud First initiative. So we've made significant investments in our product, and you see that starting to come here on this wheel. These are different pieces of the nonprofit organization's operations that we are supporting now as SylogistMission. SylogistMission is a broad set of tools that we're delivering for our customers that adds a lot of value and includes everything from fundraising and donor and volunteer management all the way through to delivery of mission. And so we're doing that on the cloud, enabling 360 views with Power BI, broad access to data, and also that secure environment that operations need in today's marketplace. So with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and switch over and show you SylogistMission and share my screen. And as we start to come in, you're going to see that I'm right here on the cloud, right? There's nothing here that I have installed. I can have access to a tablet or phone device as well as here on my machine. Now, this would be a CFO level or controller, a broad view of operations. Right? This home landing page is user-based. And so that enables us to scale the features and functionality that we see to that user's ability and to their role within that organization. We are mobile, and so we do support a full mobile experience here as well. Our mobile experience isn't just limited to seeing things, but you can actually transact here within our mobility or within the mobile app. And if I come down, I can actually come in and take a picture and leverage a new feature, incoming transactions, take a picture of a transaction and create purchase invoice, sales invoice, journal entry, lots of different features. Within our mobile app, I can also have access to reporting, and I can see different reports as I may need. I can change the view of those reports. I can also drill down, look at these in a focused mode, and really navigate the report remotely on my phone. We're going to go back to my web client just so we can start to see a little bit of a broader view. Here in just a second, I think I've got there we go. So now we're back. So you can see how this interoperability and really meeting people where they work can add a lot of value, and it's the value that we're seeing in the cloud. Now, Adam mentioned that release cycle and being cloud first, and we see that on an ongoing basis. In the past, it used to be, especially with Serenic and former Navision, you wouldn't get an upgrade until 18 months. So as new features became available, you were slow to get them. Well, that no longer is the case. We are adopting new features as Microsoft develops them. We'll take a look at one of those here in a minute as we go explore General Ledger, some of the feature sets and functionality that SylogistMission is delivering. But here, I'll just give you a little bit more of a tour. We can have those actions that are commonly used. And as I click on these, it's going to take me to unique areas of the client or activities. I can also come in and I can manage these Power BI reports. If I don't like a certain report, I don't like the certain layout, if I want to change that presentation, I can easily do it. I never left SylogistMission. I have all those features and functionality Microsoft is delivering right here at my fingertips without having to change. Still leveraging my Microsoft 365 user with my multi-factor authentication. Again, maintaining that secure environment and giving a great modern mobile experience for our users. As I drill down, I'm going to be able to allow our users to use more graphic interfaces. And here I can see an aged accounts payable. Nothing fancy about this, right? It's just aging our payables. And you can see that I need to do a little work here as I have some payables in my demo environment older than 6 years. But that's okay. I can come in and click to those, and it's going to actually take me to a list of those accounts payable here natively that I can review and take action on. I don't have to remember where to go or where to check to look at this. It's all giving me the visual cues I need when I log in that I may have actions, right? Maybe I have an intercompany to send. See, notice the red. As I scroll down, I have other user prompts and tools that help me to move away from the old menus that we used to have, running down the left or the tops of our pages. Now we can see things like what's been scheduled. We can track our favorite accounts, and anywhere you see this line, we can drill down to the underlying detail. We can also manage in these queues and these action items, giving us really great experience without the dependency of, oh my gosh, where do I go? Of course, I can still search and go to where I want to go there. And I also have the ability to expand to a more traditional role center if I'm learning a certain new area or need a prompt as I get used to the new solution. So as we move forward, SylogistMission is built on Business Central. Business Central is used worldwide and across over 400,000 organizations. Now, we've taken all of that great GL, AR, AP, inventory functionality delivered by Microsoft and Business Central, and we've added to it. We've taken the 20 plus years that we have served the nonprofit, government, and education spaces and added an extended functionality that we know nonprofits need. Things like fund. Our fund card is great. It's part of our original genius of our product. It allows us to manage those restrictions based on type. It also allows us to manage our year-end closing process, closing up those net assets discreetly based on assignment to the net asset account. Now, why does that matter? Well, now I can automate that year-end endowment schedule, right? And those are footnotes of my net assets. All of that roll forward becomes automated, and I can do it not only at a fund level, but also by dimension as well. This is a unique feature of SylogistMission, really in empowering our nonprofits to manage those resources with donor restrictions and without. Typically, we'll see a third bucket down here, those board designated. We know they're a little tricky, but we can manage those as well. So the organization assigns and defines how they want their net assets to roll based on transactions and activities across their fiscal year. I kind of step out of there. We can also come back and look at our chart of accounts. Now, our chart of accounts is going to look familiar if you're currently on Serenic. Right, I'm going to have those GL accounts and I'm going to have access to lots of views of that information. If you're on some of those older versions of Navigator, you're not going to be as familiar with some of the new features and functionality like account category and subcategory. These features help us to include and build out business intelligence to support Power BI and our reporting. Here you'll see I've got the start of a statement of financial position. I also am an old accountant and never like to do an indirect cash flow. So I'm using this tool to be able to manage my indirect cash flow right here on the fly, right in my general ledger account setup, assigning the cash flow type to the net transaction activity. So it's a real cool way for us to manage that information and set it up one time, forget about it, and then be able to call on it as we need for reporting or just to view certain transactions and activity. Now, if I drill down, I can go right straight to that history of our financial transactions. Now, I had to mention that we were cloud-based and these releases were giving us new features and functionality. Well, if you're on SylogistMission the cloud, this weekend you're going to get a gift. And that gift is analysis mode. And within analysis mode, the user has the option to create pivots to analyze the data that they'd like to see. In this pivot, I have it grouping my general ledger transactions by GL account number and fund number. I also have it returning some values down here so I can get a summarized view of what those debits and credits and amounts look like. I no longer have to run a report copy a bunch of stuff, throw it out to Excel, I can now do this level of analysis by fund right from my general ledger. By the way, when I drill down, I'm going to get to those same transactions, and I can copy these rows using my smart keys, Control-C, and I can drop that right into Excel. So it gives us a really powerful way to analyze list data and history right within the environment. We're going to see that here. I can have other views, other analysis that I can store and come back to and use for future purposes. If I don't like that, I can turn it right back off and go back to our normal view. Just an example of how we're leveraging the tools that Microsoft and the investments they are making in Business Central to deliver to SylogistMission customers. I'm going to step back out. SylogistMission also knows that our nonprofits, governments, and education clients need really good visibility on their purchases, payables, and cash flow cycles. So we've done that by enabling an advance and extending our purchases and payables cycles. So if I come over here, I can actually see that. And instead of starting at a work order, we can actually start at a requisition. A requisition is supported by a lower cost team user that will allow that user to come in and make a request for an item, general ledger account, fixed asset. They can assign and append a vendor number to that, kind of estimate when they're going to need that, and start the purchasing process before that purchase order. There's advanced workflow that supports this that says, okay, great, we see that you need that. We're going to go ahead and process that through workflow and approvals. And then we're going to be able to make a decision when to transition that to a purchase order or to a purchase invoice and actually execute and order those items, recognize that as an expense. Our chart of accounts is going to be able to track all of that activity. And when we go into our chart of accounts, we'll have commitments, encumbrances, and then, of course, we'll have actuals. So we were able to see that full 360 view of what we're expecting, what we're committed to do, and then our actuals as they come in, giving us really good visibility on those cash flows and what's expected of that. We also have additional functionality specific to awards. Awards are individual grants and contracts that we receive to support our missions. These awards will have funders, and the funders have special rules that then we can apply to our award. These rules apply advanced math and calculation so that we can administer the rules the way that they were intended per our award contract or per our award or funders' wishes. We also can track it through terms and conditions, milestones met, who are the people we're dealing with. We can have file attachments, links, etc., really making this a very full experience for our award managers. We have proposals so we can track our success rate and track the information gathering cycles necessary to be successful in our awards. And we also have full visibility on those awards. So as those awards become available, we can assign expenditure categories. These are nice little groupings of GL accounts, giving our program managers natural language to be able to evaluate the success of their awards and the costs associated with them. We also can see things like activities where we can come in and look at those expenditure categories and see them not only in our local currency, but in currencies across our different environments and across the companies of our entity. So it gives us a really rich experience to be able to manage our awards and our different mission delivery across the solution. We have feature functionality set to support loans, microloans, client depository accounts, and investments. We're going to take a look at that here just so you can get that same idea of how we're thinking about our nonprofits. So in this case, we have a learning district, and you can see they have some investment holdings, a couple of loans that we're supporting, and some deposit accounts. It's all supported by a card, just like our awards, just like our vendors, and just like our general ledger account, collecting that financial, non-financial information. And then when we come in, I can come in and see those different accounts associated with those loans or deposit accounts. And within that, I'm going to have different experience and information. So if I come over here and look at this district account, I can have different account programs offering different rates of interest. I can also go ahead and affect and take write-offs. So I can send a disbursement request straight to AP with our integrated deposit and loan functionality and feature. This is an advanced feature. The loans will actually amortize those loans over the term and the terms of the loans based on interest, time, and in a bank calculation. It also will enable us to advance payments directly to accounts payable for areas of like capital management, right, or capital acquisition. If I come over and I think a little bit more about our clients, we can look at investments. We know that our nonprofits are engaged in managing endowments. So we're going to come over here and look at this investment journal. And our investment journal is unique, and we've expanded it. And so now our investment journal is allowing our users to manage their discrete pools of investments for the individual accounts or mission programs participating in that endowment. And when we come over here, I can actually come in and do a function called investment allocation that will allocate that investment advisor's amounts, both in unitization as well as balance information, and generate those journal entry that's needed. Creating a great experience for our users, being able to create automation and a systematic way to generate and allocate investments. It's a great tool, saves a ton of time, and it also gives our users a repeatable process that they can enjoy and appreciate. As I think a little bit more about the product, I can come back in and look at other developments that are saving time for our users. And I think about that in terms of how are we impacting our overall workflow and processes? How are we impacting our control environment for our audits? And I think about those in terms of business rules as the product manager, and as we think about features and functionality we want to deliver to our nonprofits. One of those that's unique to SylogistMission is our user access rules. I'm going to open this up and give you a view of one. So in this case, I'll show you one here on a vendor. I can actually limit a user to the vendor list. So this isn't just for GL accounts or dimensions or funds, but actually we can impact our master records as well. So in this case, this user would not be able to see vendor 310. They can see all the other ones, but not vendor 310. I can take this a step further and say, well, maybe I want to do it for any of these other master records, whether it's a customer, could be an employee, could be a fund. I can be very prescriptive of which field and what range of fields that they can see, a user can see across the environment. So when this user comes in, they would not be able to pick vendor 310, but they could pick everything else. They would not be able to see transactions on vendor 310, even if they built a Power BI or went out and ran a report. These user access rules travel with the user and follow their 365 licensing across SylogistMission. We see similar ideas on our transaction approval rules. Our transaction rules are a little bit different than in Business Central. We've had them in the product for a long time, but they enable us to assign workflow and approval routing based on ranges, right? And step-by-step progression, as well as by coding on certain transaction types. So this gives us a really easy to see, easy to follow way to manage. This would generate, of course, an Outlook email and send to our users that then they could go to a mobile device and approve. So it gives back that modern experience to our users. As I come back and we look at other features within SylogistMission as we've evolved the product to the cloud, we can also see an area of jobs. And jobs is great. Jobs will enable us to manage costs on a project. And in our use case, what we've done with jobs is to make it a little smaller and more specialized for our nonprofits. And in this job, it's actually going to show us we can have planning lines, and then we can capture costs against those planning lines as they post to that job. So this is all fully integrated with accounts payable, allowing us to create a discrete budget. and track those costs. And if I were to drill down on this, you would see I have program contacts. I can come in and entry. I can set other features, right? And I can come and find those entries. And it's not going to just show me the job ledger entry, but it's going to show me that accounts payable or other transactions that happened along the way specific to this environment. I'm going to let this go. It has a lot of transactions to pull. So you can see here, and then I can do show entries and get to all the source documentation I may need for review or I may need for an audit. As I come back, you can see here, I'm just coming back to home. We also have features like our budget plan. So budget planning is part of our integrated solution. We also have payroll. So payroll is another component that supports that life cycle of payroll processing. All with a similar cadence that we've seen across everything else, with a subledger and a master card collecting both financial and non-financial information that then can be pulled into reporting. Now, I showed a little bit of Power BI, but I have to show it just one more time as a thought. I'm going to expand this report, and this is actually how we're thinking about Power BI moving forward. So this is built on the SylogistMission data model. It's pulling budget to actuals. It's giving us real-time information that then I can link down, drill down into the specific GL accounts. I can do that based on any picker year, and it's going to give me that same great experience depending on what information is available in my environment. I can come over and look at a statement of position or a balance sheet as well, and really have that same great experience, just depending on what it is that I would like to see. So with that, Adam and Brittany, I'll turn it back to you, but I'm hoping that you take away a view of SylogistMission that's modern, it's mobile, we're adopting and leveraging the Microsoft tools, as well as enabling those features that we know nonprofits need.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. I'm going to switch back over here. We're going to talk a little bit about subscription and licensing. There are two main types of users within the system: essential users and team users. Our essential users are kind of our full users. They can pretty much do with anything within the system, limited to their actual permissions. So you can set up different roles and things like that. All of that's built into the system. Team users are really for those users that are not posting anything, or they're really doing requisitions, maybe updating things, approving. Approving is probably the most common task that our team member users are, but they could be reading reports, etc. And then as we look at the types of solutions, so we talk about the network effects of integration and how well things are together. Our donor management is connected through the whole suite of applications that Sylogist provides. We have a number of different reporting tools in this cloud space, and as we see all of the partners kind of consolidating onto the Business Central platform, so we don't just have one reporting engine anymore. We have numerous ones that can be tailored and kind of we can fit based on what your needs are. All right. So from here, where do we go? Where, for an on-premise, how do we get to the cloud, and what does that process look like? So it looks a little bit more complicated than it really is, but ultimately we have a current database that is built on the Navision or Dynamics NAV platform, Serenic Navigator. A big shift in moving to cloud was making it easier to do upgrades. That was a core tenet of Microsoft and Sylogist goal in going to the cloud platform. And so in doing so, there was a change in how things were added to the system. And so there is a process by which we migrate the data and move up into that cloud platform. And so what we do as part of that, and because there was a decent amount of change kind of on the underpinnings, is that's a good time for us to go back and do a functional review, because what we're finding is that we're able to replace a lot of the customizations that used to be required previously. And so we're seeing a reduced amount of customizations, a lot more clean builds that don't require anything but configuration. And so then we're able to just make things a little bit easier. We don't want to have customizations if we don't have to. If we have to, and I know there's some great cases for unique business logic, because of the way that upgrades happen, we've actually built that into our support plan. So it is on Kopis to keep those customizations up to date. So you don't have to worry about Kopis coming back to you and saying, "Hey, hold on a second to get this upgraded." No, it's not like that anymore. We've got you. We'll stand by that, and we'll keep you up to date. But again, we do that review. We make the plan for how we're going to go from one system to the other. We create a test plan. We go through it. We make those. We migrate that data. Once that's ready, we deploy those extensions. That's the name of the if there are any customizations. We make sure everything is ready to go in this test database, this yellowish orange test database. We have a test plan ready for you. We go through that. We work through any issues, and once we all feel confident in the new system, then we plan the cutover, and we have a script that we all go through, not unlike any upgrades that you may have been a part of in the past. And then once you're there, part of maintaining that ongoing upgrade cycle. Some organizations have a little bit more formal upgrade process. That's okay. Some more organizations, especially those with no customizations, have a less formal upgrade process. We can support both types, but it is an easier process in the cloud. So it's a pretty straightforward move. We do get a chance to work with you to help kind of reduce any complexity or re-engineer your process. If you do have scenarios where you want to consider that, it's a great time to do that. But ultimately, getting onto a system that is easy to support and can help you be more efficient. Any questions?
We did get one question come through, and I know you just sort of touched on this a little bit, but maybe if there are any specific examples you could talk through. But going back to that customization piece, when clients are moving to a new platform, are you seeing a lot of clients eliminate a lot of their customizations and finding like what types of things do they have access to natively now that they may not have had before?
Sure. Yeah, we definitely are seeing reductions, and so there are things that, especially as Microsoft has increased their investment into Business Central, that's actually caused a lot of functionality to be added, as well as keep in mind that you have organizations coming from like a Dynamics GP or a Dynamics SL, and so there are places where those two ERP systems, had their strengths. Those ideas are being brought to the Business Central world, and so the amalgamation of those thoughts are actually helping drive the platform even further and faster. So we're definitely seeing scenarios where maybe there were great ideas in the past that were more efficiency gains. Those things have been customizations in the past, and a lot of there's a lot of things that are actually built into the system. If you do have further questions, we'd be happy to talk with you. Feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to set up some time and bring a consultant and talk through what types of things you could be struggling with, or if you want to plan out a migration or just ask some questions, we'd be happy to talk with you.